Let's go next to Justin from Albany, New York. I love both pronunciations.
I'm surprised. As I've never joined a server before. I was the first, and I'm already called. That's
Wow.
nice.
Wow. What's going on?
Well, I'm just curious. I've been a viewer for a while, and
Yeah.
it's just uh, with the right wing, and this is a complex issue, so it's kind of hard to like summarize it in a couple of sentences. But like, I look at like their attitude towards LGBT people, for example, like transgender youth, what they were one of their big targets, and it's just like, do they do we think that it's just do these people really just not realize that they have an impact on families directly who like work hard, just provide the best things for their children? Do they are they targeting those type of people? Is it just a convenient tool for votes, or do they really think they're doing the right thing? I
I
guess
don't
that's my
think there's
question.
one answer. I think the motivations are different for different right wingers. Like, for example, on generally speaking on LGBT issues, there are some right wingers who have the positions they have because either for religious reasons or whatever cultural reasons,
Hmm.
they are scared of or believe that LGBT individuals are bad people or immoral or satanic or demonic or whatever. There's that group. There's also sort of more, I don't know if cynical is the right word, but more opportunistic right wingers who see these cultural issues as wedge issues around which you can, number one, get people fired up, and number two, raise money and maybe even win elections. So I don't think there's like one explanation, to be perfectly frank.
That's a fair point. I just it's something that just in my mind, I just feel is kind of tragic because there's just these are real people. I guess like trans youth is like one of the big wedge issues. It just makes me sad because it's real people and real families that get impacted by that, which is why I'm passionate about that issue.
Well, one good piece of news is a study came out earlier this week, a new poll where I guess for the first time in history, even a majority of Republicans now think gay marriage should be legal. Now, of course, the battle lines have moved on that issue because gay marriage is legal nationally and it has been for years. It's more about, religious freedom to be
Hmm.
homophobic or trans, but I still think that the numbers are slowly continuing to move in the right direction.
Yeah, that's something my friend told me, which is like I feel like most people in the country are ready to move on from like the gay marriage issue, especially just but
Yeah,
the culture war.
6 years later, they're starting to move on from it. That tells you how slowly they move.
Yeah, that's a fact. Well, thanks, David. Love
My
the show.
pleasure. Thank you for the call. Some good calls. We had that sort of bad start with a dropped call, but so far it's going okay. Let's go next to is it pronounced Jate with a T from Tallahassee, Florida?
Yes, it is. Hey,
How are you?
David, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
All right. Um, I wanted to make a very urgent comment in
Okay.
response to your award-winning bonus show
Okay.
from about 2 weeks ago.
Sure.
You were talking about going to a Thai restaurant
Mm,
and then having some soup there.
right.
And I am actually Thai American, so I wanted to make a correction to the pronunciation. Excuse me.
Let me guess. Is it my pronunciation of galangal?
No, actually, in Thai, that herb is known as ka.
Ka, like K
So,
A?
yeah, like KHA is the transliteration, I think.
Wow.
But I didn't even know it was called galangal in English. But it was actually the name of the soup. And I think you called it tom yum. But in
Yes.
Thai, it's actually pronounced tom yum.
Wow. Well, listen, I stand corrected. I never purport to know Thai pronunciation, but the soup, this is one of the, I would argue globally, one of the best soups, and I would not want to disrespect it with a wrong pronunciation. So I do appreciate the correction.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because a lot of Americans call pad thai with like a PUT as pad thai.
Right.
So that's another common one that's out there.
Well, listen, you don't have to know how to pronounce it to love it. I think that's the upside for everybody listening.
Yeah, it's always a good question as to when do you correct pronunciation of food in another language.
Right.
It's kind of interesting. It's just if it's I guess if it's more commonly had and known about, then people can have the right pronunciation.
Can you get good, again, either Tom Yum or Tom Yum in Tallahassee, Florida?
Actually, I haven't looked for it. I haven't
wow.
found it on the menus here
Interesting.
at Thai restaurants.
All right. Well, I appreciate the call and the correction.
Sure.
All right. Very good. Let's go next to lot of corrections happening, which is fine. I'm glad to be corrected. I want to do better.